You're listening to the Sports Fix on Flow FM. We're in the home straight now, so it's time for Court on her Sports Express.
All aboard the Sports Express, your ticket to sporting news.
There's been many times in our Olympic history where we've had just the most talented swimming teams ever. And then over the last sort of couple of decades, it's sort of been a three-way between us, the Chinese team, and of course the American team. But I don't know, I've got a good feeling about the Olympics when you check out Kaylee McKeown. Now, she's only a teenager and she's just broken 3 Aussie records at the Sydney Open. Now, we're not trying to throw all our eggs in the one basket, but she is certainly a big hopeful for taking home gold in the Olympics. She bettered her own Aussie record in the 200-metre backstroke, and she also smashed the 100-metre and the 50-metre backstroke events as well. That is a name to keep an eye on. In AFL news, Ben Cousins, apparently he's back. He hasn't played footy for 10 years, but looks like he's really applied himself. He's certainly on form. And like I said, it's taken him 10 years to do it, but he was playing in the Perth Metro Football League on the weekend, and certainly the crowd was there to snap up a few images of him playing. And apparently, he did pretty all right. In NRL news, Jared Hayne, of course, in prison now for assault. And apparently, and his fellow inmates, well, they're not feeling the celebrity vibe. They've actually pelted him with apples in the exercise yard once they recognised him. It's going to be a very long 3 to 5 years for Jared Hayne. And finally, this morning, Matildas have scored themselves $116 million in a form of a performance hub. So it's their own, it's like a purpose-built centre in Melbourne, and apparently it will be finished just in time for when we co-host the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The federal government's pitching in just a humble little 15 mil, while the Victorian government is donating a whopping $101 million for the home of the Matildas. Construction begins in December.
Boy, are we looking forward to that. Many excited folk looking forward to that 2023 World Cup. Thanks, Cord. We'll have more with Cord on the Brekkie Flow tomorrow morning between 6 and 9, and of course her Sports Express is part of that, and she'll be back on the Sports Fix tomorrow night. Before we wrap up the show, looking at some birthdays and events that took place today, Tony Roach, the Aussie tennis champion, having his 76th birthday today. He has won the most men's doubles at Wimbledon with his partner John Newcombe. Good on you, Nuke. They had 5 wins in 65, 68, 69, 70 and in 74. In 1994, he was appointed coach of the Australian Davis Cup team. He coached Ivan Lendl to 8 Grand Slam titles, and for 2.5 years even coached Roger Federer, the Fed Express. Sugar Ray Leonard, the American world welterweight boxing champion and gold medal winner at the 1976 Olympics, having his 65th birthday today. He first retired back in 82. After making a comeback in 91, he announced his retirement again after losing to Terry Norris in the WBC super welterweight title fight. His only previous loss was to Roberto Duran back in 1980. Former AFL player and coach of St Kilda, Alan Richardson, having his 56th birthday, played 114 senior games with Collingwood, began coaching St Kilda in 2014 and resigned with the club in July 2019. Shaun Hart, AFL player with the Brisbane Lions, turning 50 today. He was part of the Lions 2001, 2002 and 2003 premiership teams. In the 2001 grand final, he was awarded the Norm Smith Medal for BOG. A few of the events. Melbourne, the footy club, was incorporated at Bryant's Parade Hotel in East Melbourne on this day in 1859. On this day in 1875, the Kentucky Derby was run for the first time in the US. Susie O'Neill broke the oldest swimming record when she won the 200 metres butterfly final at the 2000 Olympic selection trials in a record time of 2 minutes 0.581 seconds on this day in 2000. She sliced 1/1500th of a second off the record before a record swimming crowd of 10,000 folks. Anthony Mundine defeated Danny Green in the biggest grossing fight in Australian boxing history on this day in 2006. Mundine won on points in front of a crowd estimated at 30,000 folks at the Aussie Stadium in Sydney. And it was on this day in 2019 that Israel Folau was found to have breached Rugby Australia's code of conduct, and his 4-year employment contract with Rugby Australia was terminated early, ending his career with the Waratahs and the Wallabies. His post on social media that quoted certain Bible verses regarding sexuality brought him into conflict with the administrators of Rugby Australia. We'll leave that right there. And that's it for our Sports Fix for this Monday. We'll be back again tomorrow. More interesting conversations we're going to be having with the Flow Man and the Stat Man this week. Looking forward to those. So make sure you listen out for the Flow Sports Fix coming up again from 5 p.m. tomorrow right here on Flow.